Brad Treliving, do you have balls? Do you? Because we got some expectations, sir. By the way, I just want to say, whether you're suiting up or gearing up, the Beard and Balls bundle for Manscaped, your all-in-one grooming solution, Brad. Use the promo code Dangle. Beard and Balls bundle, 20% off and free international shipping with the promo code Dangle at manscaped.com. Brad Treliving at the trade deadline. Gentlemen, I have his history here, okay? So Brad Treliving, obviously, when he was with the Flames, and he was with the Flames a long, long time, had a really, really good deadline in 21-22. He picked up Tyler Toffoli with term. He also added Kelly Yarncroke. That's a guy we know.
That one actually didn't go so good.
It didn't, but he signed with Toronto later.
Yeah, I like him. He wasn't great.
The Flames,
Calgary.
The 14-15 Flames finished with 97 points. They dealt Sven Baertschi and Curtis Glencross at the deadline, dealt them away.
They sold and still made the playoffs that year.
Yeah,
that was a
the
really
heart
good
attack
one.
kids, right?
Yeah.
94 points in 16-17. That's the first time the Leafs had Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and William Nylander on the roster, just for context sakes, if you're a Leaf fan. They made some small additions, got Michael Stone in February, and Mike Koska and Curtis Lazar.
What?
Yeah, he gave up a second-round pick for Lazar and Mike Koska. In 18-19, when the Flames had 107 points, that was a crazy, crazy year. And frankly, not a whole heck of a lot happened. The first trade was in November, Morgan Klimchuk for Andrew Nielsen. And then the other deadline deal was he dealt a conditional third to the Kings for Oscar Fantenberg. Wasn't awesome. Wasn't great. And after that, if you continue to go through it, they have been pretty quiet trade deadlines over the course of his career. Brad is a guy who believes in building the team in the summer. So,
which means he's in trouble. He's in trouble. This team isn't good enough, and he has no excuse. Okay, you don't like making trade deadline deals. Got it. It's a seller's market. Got it. And the prices are insane. Got it. Okay. Well, that means you should have dealt with this problem a long time ago. You should have.
And you knew you had it a long time.
Weeks ago and months. Yes. From the moment the season began, we knew, hey, this team is solid. This team has problems. I just sent Jesse a tweet. It's just a few apples and strawberries and blueberries and eggs. And it's like, this cost me Easton Cowan, Fraser Minton, and 2 firsts. This is a massive problem. Listen, there's inflation out there in the NHL. I understand it. Max Domi, long established, not good enough as your third line center. Maybe he's better on the wing. He's definitely better on the wing. Not good enough. Okay. Well, we're up against the cap also. So you got to add to your team. You probably got to take away from your team. Ryan Reeves is on waivers. We have no idea what the outcome is going to be there. And even when Tanev gets back, you probably need another defenseman too. So Treliving is in a really, really bad spot because teams know
and have known for a long time.
That he left all his homework for the last minute. Florida made a huge swing. Tampa made a huge swing. In your nickel and diamond, I was all on board with no, just marginal changes. I don't want to get rid of any of these prospects. But now that I see
2 days ago,
literally 2 days ago, but I've seen the light. Hallelujah. Colorado doesn't have any picks. In the year they won, they didn't have any picks. Florida, forget it.
Well, what
Tampa,
about the quote from Julian Breezewell where he said, I would rather have a roster full of good players than a bunch of draft picks?
You know how many first-round picks in the entire history of the Vegas Golden Knights have? 1, and it's last year's. And by the end of today, they may not have that one either.
Mm-hmm.
Trade it all!
Jesse. Yep. Brad Treliving, from what we have heard, is under tremendous organizational pressure to get something done. Yes.
It doesn't feel like it.
It doesn't feel like it, does it? No. And so
Dan, that's crazy. Is it from the president that's going to get fired?
He remade the Leafs defense in the offseason. He remade the Leafs goaltending in the offseason. Mm-hmm. But for this to be a success, it's got to be the third line at very least is remade today. What's your faith in him doing it? And do you have any targets in mind now that Brock Nelson and, Ryan O'Reilly didn't want to come back, are off the board?
I think the expectation should be that Brad Treliving sits on this team and doesn't really do anything. I think.
Oh my God! Don't do that to me.
I will.
I honestly think Leafs fans should expect that at this point, because I think he's gonna end up looking at the roster and be like, you know what, it's good enough. And I don't think that's how we should look at it. I think the consolation prize will probably be Scott Laughton. I think there's enough there that we can expect Scott Laughton to probably be a Leaf if he does something here. But I can totally see him sitting on his hands, which I don't think is the right thing to do, but I can see him doing it. And you mentioned the pressure from upper management. I think that's a very interesting point when we're talking about the Leafs, because we're looking at the grander view of things, and Brendan Shanahan, his contract does expire at the end of this season. So I think Brendan would want an all-in mentality for the Leafs in this season, but Brad Treliving's like, I still just got here.
Yeah. And
Oh my God!
I have time, because not only am I the new GM here, my boss is getting fired.
And I might be the next president.
And then a new guy is coming in. I don't think he's going to be president, but he could be the president. And if I'm the president, there's like 6 years for me. There's 5 years for me. And if a new president comes in, there's some time for us to get to know each other too. So Brad has time, and unfortunately, I think he might use it, which is the wrong way to go about things. You should be the Avalanche. You should be the Lightning. You should go out and trade everything to win now, because this team has not won and they need to win. And this is the season to do it. And every season should be the season to do it. I would be very sad if that's how it ends up, but I think it's a distinct possibility.
Darren Dreger tweeted this morning, if the Leafs are looking for defense help, one of the names that I don't know why this was ever put out there. I think it's one of those things that they're trying to drive clicks. Rasmus Ristolainen. They ask for him as a first-round pick, a prospect, and a player. Essentially the Brock Nelson return. He has another year left on his deal, and I would assume the Flyers would have to retain on that. But Kevin Kurz from The Athletic keeps reporting that Rasmus Ristolainen, nobody is calling for him. So that's probably the general manager going, yeah, we're going to ask a whole bunch because everybody wants this guy, even though nobody does.
So that's a really confusing report for me. I just Googled it. Recreational marijuana remains illegal in Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, I don't know where they're getting that return
from. Well, that's the thing, is he's probably not moving. So for the Leafs, okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of mine. I would love for the Leafs to go out and see if Vancouver would be willing to move on guys like Pius Suter and Connor Garland. Really liked what they did for the third and fourth lines last year. Apparently Brandon Tanev, who's an unrestricted free agent at the end of this year, is available. Luke Kunin's name's come up. But on defense, gentlemen,
hell yeah.
If the center market is that crazy, and it's okay, you do your first for Scott Laughton, right? Let's say what they do. That's what
I hope it's not a first.
I hope it's not a first either.
Yeah.
But do you then go, okay, fine. Then, we're a team that has not scored as much this year. Our goaltending's been great. Do we make the defense better and spend the major assets there? And if so, if let's say in a crazy world where Brad's willing to get bold, who are your targets?
Yeah, you got to get better back there. That probably helps your identity. Getting a few goals and moving the puck wouldn't be the worst either. Listen, what was the arguably greatest trade of the Kyle Dubas era?
I would say it's probably either the Jake McCabe one or the Ryan O'Reilly Noel Acciari one.
I'm going to throw Jake McCabe in there on account of he's still on the team, still salary retained. The Blackhawks, listen, you look around the league and you look at teams that seem to know what they're doing, and the Blackhawks aren't on my list. Even though I think they've drafted very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, especially when it comes to trades, I don't really think they know what they're doing. Could you get Chicago to help you out with Connor Murphy? And by help you out, I mean, could you get Chicago to... Now, I don't believe they can retain. They can't retain because I think all three slots are full because of Rantanen, Jake McCabe, and Seth Jones.
That is correct.
Hey!
Well done.
So, can you get them to take money somehow?
The Blackhawks?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have no retention slots, so you're going to have
Ironically, the two easiest candidates for Chicago are probably former Blackhawks and David Kampf and Max Domi. The more I look at the Leafs situation, the more I have a really hard time envisioning Connor Dewar being a Leaf by the end of today.
He was a deadline pickup last year.
He makes a hair under 1.2 million, and he's not on the roster right now.
Well, is that because you want to play David Kampf and his $2.5 million in order to get another team interested? Because is David Kampf, like Connor Dewar makes what, $700-800 grand?
No, Connor Dewar makes 1.18.
Okay, is David Kampf $1.5 million better than Connor Dewar?
I understand what you're saying. Like, I wonder if Kampf would welcome a move back there.
Yeah. Again, I say defense. Who are your targets?
That's why I said Connor.
Jesse?
I like David Savard out of Montreal because it's a pure rental. He hasn't been the best this year, but he's a shot blocking machine. I think on a better team in isolated minutes on your third pair, that Savard could be very useful for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I think like it shouldn't cost you too many assets considering where he is at the stage of his career, considering his play this year. I know Montreal's prices are going to be through the roof for Toronto, but I hope if that's not the case, like if it's a regular deal, if they're not the Toronto Maple Leafs, they can probably have him for just a pick. You know, I don't see a lot of assets. They'll have to send out some cash. Yeah, to one of those players, but in terms of like something they need, I think it'll just you can get a draft pick for them.
Purely from a narrative perspective, I would rather die than give the Montreal Canadiens a first-round pick.
No,
because they're hitting on that damn pick, and he's gonna haunt the Leafs
apparently
like the friggin' boogeyman.
The ask for Savard apparently is a second.
Oh, stop!
Yeah, that's what they're asking right now.
If it's a third and a roster player.
Don't hate it.
Who's the roster?
I don't hate that. Some cash you need to send out.
Like Dewar, a third.
You want Domi back?
I think they would rather die.
So, okay, it's going to be a tricky day. By the way, Ryan Donato, there are conversations. He's one of those guys that I think the Leafs looked into.
He's the guy I would look at for sure.
Yeah, it looks like he might be extending in Chicago because
Son of a gun!
Some point, they got to keep somebody.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens, but those are your expectations of Brad Treliving on this trade deadline. I sincerely hope that when we're doing our live stream at the end of the day, that we're not sitting here going, this was an absolute failure for the Toronto Maple Leafs, because a failure would be doing nothing. So we'll see what happens.